Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good evening to all of you. I hope you all are fine and doing great. So let's start. We are studying, learning how to learn, and we are on the page of 127, right? Okay. How do you wake up your attentional octopus? By focusing on information. Ever forgotten a name right after you heard it? You weren't focusing, right? If the octopus is asleep, it can't grab the information. Mental challenge like putting together this puzzle or doing a math problem can make your attentional octopus really busy, right? When you learn something new, your working memory buzzes with electrical activity, your octopus is busy. Arms all entangled with each other. Here is a picture of your attentional octopus when you are focused on learning something hard, such as a physics problem, or a new idea in biology, or translating a German sentence. Right? Learning something new can really put your attentional octopus to work. So you can see the electric shock here. Everybody has an attentional octopus, but each octopus is a little different. Most have 4 arms, but some can have 5 or even more. This can hold more information in mind. Some octopuses have only 3 arms. They can't hold as much information. Some octopuses have arms that can grasp firmly. Information sticks easily. Other octopuses have more slippery arms. Information seems to slide away. What kind of octopus do you have? Don't worry if you think yours have a few arms or slippery arms. That might seem bad, but in some cases it is very useful. In any case, your octopus can get tired. It can hold on to information for just a little while, maybe 10 to 15 seconds. Then the information begins to slip away unless you concentrate or repeat it to hold it in mind. If you want to remember information for a long time, it needs to go somewhere else, somewhere safer than working memory. What to do? So, long-term locker memory is here just to help you to keep it longer. Fortunately, your brain has another memory system, long-term memory. That is like your locker. You can store a lot more information in your locker. It's like something from a magician's show. Small on the outside, but huge on the inside, right? You can never fill it. The faces of your friends are in there, your favorite jokes, the layout of your school, and a lot of facts and concepts. Anything you remember from your past is in your long-term memory. Where is your long-term memory in your brain? It is not mostly in one area like your working memory. It's much more spread out. Each piece of information is a set of brain links. Simple information forms a small set of brain links. More complicated information is made up of longer, more complex sets of brain links. But how do you put something new into long-term memory? How do you make brain links? Are there simple tricks to help you remember more easily? Yes. We'll get you started learning some of these tricks in the next chapter. Pause and recall. What were the main ideas of this chapter? Almost no one can remember a lot of details, and that's okay. You will be surprised to see how fast your learning progresses if you tuck the main ideas into a few keys set of brain links. Check this box when you are done. Actually, see, do you know this book is not just for studying. This book is just like, workbook. You have to work it out, like pause and recall. Again, just you have to look back at the book, whatever you have read, right? And you can find this book on the Telegram link, right? I have in the Telegram group. I have given, I have uploaded that book there, right? Yes, okay. Let's go ahead. Now you try. Stage your own memories. Remember Shakespeare's metaphor. All the world is a stage. Make your own stage play about a school bag, a locker, and an attentional octopus. You can act out the parts in front of a mirror. Better yet, stage your play with some friends. Use this play to help explain your different memory systems and how they work together with the attentional octopus and with brain links to help you organize your learning. Summing it up, you have 2 memory systems, working memory and long-term memory. Working memory involves what you are consciously thinking about at the moment. The working memory system is largely in your prefrontal cortex here. You can imagine that your working memory is like a friendly attentional octopus who generally has 4 arms. Having only 4 arms explains why your working memory holds on a limited amount of information. Okay, long-term memory is scattered around in your brain. You have to reach for it with the arms of your attentional octopus. Your long-term memory has almost never-ending storage space, but you need to harness it through practice and process. Check your understanding. Check whether you have understood this chapter by answering these questions. Recalling and explaining your new knowledge strengthens it. Remember, it doesn't help if you just look at the back of the book for the answer instead of calling the answer up into your mind first. So, see here, just you have to answer these questions. And yeah, I'm looking like no one is writing in the group. Please write down. This is useful for you, brothers. How is your working memory like a school bag? Where in the brain does your attentional octopus live? How many items of information can people's working memory usually hold? How is your long-term memory like a locker? Where in the brain is your long-term memory? When you are done, you can compare your answer with the ones at the back of the book. Okay. Picture walk done, a few end of chapter question tackled, and notebook ready for the next chapter. Right. Chapter 8. Slick tricks to build your memory. Nelson Dalis was a perfectly normal kid. While he was growing up, he forgot birthdays, groceries, and names. If it was forgettable, he forgot it. His dad came home one day to find a hot dog burning on the stove. Nelson had forgotten that he had started cooking it. But years later, at age 31, Nelson found himself at the US Memory Championship. He was in the last stage of the competition. His ferocious competitors had bet him in the morning, smashing records while they rapidly memorized cards and numbers. Nelson had set a new record for names, 201 names in 15 minutes. But he was still behind. He went into the final round of the afternoon, needing all his memory expertise to have any hope of winning. He had to memorize 2 decks of cards, 104 cards in perfect order. Could Nelson really become US Memory Champion? Is it possible to change from an ordinary forgetful person into a memory athlete? Nelson Dalis went from having an ordinary memory to becoming an extraordinary memory expert. How did he do it? Looking more deeply into long-term memory. Okay, just a second. Let me have a water, please. Okay, we have already learned a lot about the octopus in your mental school bag. That is your working memory. In this chapter, we want to look more closely at what's going on in your locker. In other words, in your long-term memory. Your long-term memory has 2 parts to it. Number 1, a toothpaste tube that rests on a shelf in your locker, and the rest of your locker. A toothpaste tube versus the rest of the locker? These are our metaphors for the 2 parts of long-term memory. Here is the key idea. Putting stuff into a toothpaste tube is hard. Ever tried it? You cannot do it. On the other hand, it's super easy to tape a picture to the wall of a locker. So, see here. So you cannot put things in this toothpaste, but yeah, you can stick so many things on the wall, right? In the vacant places. A toothpaste tube is like the fact part of your locker. Fact part of your locker. Okay. That is your long-term memory. It's hard to put stuff in a toothpaste tube. So just as your attentional octopus takes information out of long-term memory, it also puts information into a long-term memory. So the octopus decides where to put the information based on whether it's a fact or a picture, right? So to your brain, facts are like toothpaste. they are hard to store. So if the information is a fact, your octopus tries to squeeze that fact into the toothpaste tube. As you can imagine, it's a struggle, right? However, if the information is a picture, your octopus just tapes it to the wall of the locker. Done. What do I mean by a fact? It could be something like date, say the year that the silicon chip was invented, 1959, or the fact that the word for duck in Portuguese is pato. These kind of facts are abstract. You can't picture them very easily, right? This is what makes them hard to store. Picture information is much easier to remember. How many chairs are there around your kitchen table? In your mind's eye, you can picture your kitchen table and count the chairs. You can also easily describe the route you take to the grocery store. Here is the trick. If you convert a fact you are trying to remember into a picture, you can remember it more easily. If the picture is unusual, it's even easier to remember. And if the picture involves movement, that seems to make it stick even more strongly. This is how Nelson does it. Got it? So, he converts his facts into picture. Then not only picture, but the picture is like unique. Picture is somehow absurd, and then the picture is also moving. So these are the three characteristics of this picture. Right. Should we do it? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah, let's do it. Nelson, 5 tips for remembering things. Nelson Dellis now has a great memory because he has worked hard to develop it, and he has helpful tips for how to remember virtually anything: poems, numbers, speeches, words in a foreign language. I asked Nelson for his key tips on how to get information into your head and remember it for a long time. Here is what he recommended. It helps to tell yourself to pay attention if you want to remember something. Okay. So number 1, focus. Pay attention. Sounds obvious, but tell yourself to focus. Tell yourself that what you are about to memorize is important. Okay. This helps a lot. Concentrate as much as you can on what you are working to remember. The more you practice commanding your focus, the better you will get at focusing. Number 2, practice. Nelson says, you don't get good at something unless you practice. That's for anything in the world. So practice remembering things. Whether it's a fact about biology for school, to-do list, or the telephone numbers of your friends. You can amaze them since almost no one does this anymore. Picture things. Your memory is a lot better is a lot better for picture than it is for abstract facts. Turn whatever you are memorizing into a picture that you can visualize in your mind's eye. Your brain soaks that stuff right up, says Nelson. If you add movement to your picture, it makes the image even stickier, right? A gorilla is one thing, a gorilla doing the tango is another. Number 4, store it. Find a way to relate the information to things you already know. Find an anchor. This allows you to put the picture into your brain in places where you can easily retrieve them. Even something as simple as linking a new person's name and look with someone you already know is a good anchoring strategy. His name is Dan, like my uncle Dan, but he is way shorter. There are other ways to store information, so it's easy to grab from memory. We will describe some of them later. Recall. All the earlier steps in this list get information easily into your head. But this last active recall step, where you repeatedly bring the information to mind, is what gets it safely stored in long-term memory. We'll have to recall frequently in the beginning, but less and less often as time goes by. Flashcards are valuable here. Quizlet is a popular flashcard app. It also have dictations, translations, tests, and games. As Nelson himself says, if you have a hard time focusing, practicing memorization techniques will improve your ability to focus. All right? practicing memorization techniques will improve your ability to focus. And to memorize, focus and memorization reinforce each other, right? Here is what I mean. Let's say that Nelson has to remember 3 things. The French word for grapefruit is pamplemousse. Pamplemousse. Okay? Pamplemousse. The correct pronunciation is pamplemousse. Okay, pamplemousse. So neurons are made of axons and dendrites, right? So number 3, eating arsenic is bad. Eating arsenic is bad. Right. Nelson might come up with the following. Number 1, an image of a moose pumping an inflatable grapefruit. Pumpermoose should be close enough. Pumpermoose, right? An image of moose pumping up of inflatable grapefruit. Number 2, a puzzled zombie. His axe has fallen on the floor along with a pen. He picks them both up, straps the axe on his back, and then he starts writing. Axe on, then writes. Right? Dendrites. Right. A vomiting man. If you eat arsenic, you are sick. So, yes. So he's memorizing like that, like the moving picture, like we already talked about it yesterday, before that page, on previous page. Axe on, then writs, right? Axe on, see here, axe on, and then drits. Himself corny visual jokes. Corny visual jokes that help him remember. You will be amazed by how easy it is to remember things when you have a goofy way of remembering them. And it's easy and it's fun making them up. Here's an example from All's chemistry studies. In chemistry, there is something called the reactivity series. Basically, some chemicals blow up more easily than others. It's good to know what explodes and what doesn't. All had to know this list for the test. All had to memorize these metals in the right order. Potassium, sodium, lithium, calcium, magnesium, aluminum, zinc, iron, copper, silver, gold. So that's 11 metals in the right order. Tough, right? Yes, this is tough to memorize. You could say them even over and over again out loud and still not remember them. So you need a trick, right? All's trick was to imagine a schoolboy in a sports uniform in a science lab. He is desperate to play sport. The sun is shining outside. He is looking up at his teacher, who is holding a test tube. He is saying, "Please, sir, let me cancel math and zines. Let me cancel math, zines instead. Cricket, swimming, golf." Right? The first letter of each word is the first letter of each metal. Right? This is called mnemonic. It's pronounced mnemonic. Mnemonic. All's mnemonic allowed him to write the series down as soon as the test started. Then he could use it to solve chemistry problems. He had to rename science zines, right? But it worked for him. Right. So I think it's enough for today. Okay. Thank you. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please share with your friends and whoever wants to learn the brain techniques, the memorizing techniques. Okay, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.